now it's time for an interactive session, and to moderate this session, let me call on stage Mr. Peter Shaw-Smith. Mr. Peter is a British freelance journalist who has been based in the Middle East for over 25 years and writes on aviation, shipping, and finance. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
For this interactive session, let me call on stage a visionary who has been steering the global maritime industry through his foresighted leadership. This industry veteran shall share his leadership insights and discuss on the future of the shipping industry. Ladies and gentlemen, please give an enormous round of applause and join me to welcome Mr. Emanuele Grimaldi, President and MD Grimaldi Group, Chairman of the Board of the International Chamber of Shipping, to join us on stage. And to join this exciting discussion, I would like to invite on stage once again Sir Sohan Roy. Can we have a round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen?
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Peter Shaw-Smith. I'm a freelance journalist. I've been based in Dubai for 20 years. And on shipping, I am currently a contributor to the US-based Journal of Commerce. And I'm delighted to welcome Mr. Emanuele and Sir Sohan today. And we have about 25 minutes, I think, to reflect on the successes that you've enjoyed in the shipping industry. So, Mr. Emanuele, first of all, if I could ask you if you could give us an update on the recent progress of the Grimaldi Group and tell us how you've managed to turn it into one of the world's top ro-ro carriers.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank Sir Roy for having invited me here. And also, I would like, before starting, to stress how much the United Emirates, Dubai and Abu Dhabi became big capital of shipping. We heard also from the discussion of today how much commitment there is for this green transition. The fact that IRENA is also in Abu Dhabi, led by my good friend Francesco La Camera, is also testify how much there is the commitment for the renewable energy in the Emirates. Also was extremely important, I came back recently to Dubai because of the conference of all the ports from around the world who met recently here in Dubai. Also, I think the huge commitment that we saw for COP28 was real remarkable progress that we have seen in shipping. But we shouldn't forget that shipping has been rightly considered a hard-to-abate sector. There are other sectors that are much easy to address. For instance, housing, probably it applies also to many industry where it's much easier. I would say even automotive, it is definitely easier. The solution is only around the corner. Our sector, it's very difficult because to move a very big ship for long hauls, I think it's a complicated matter because you need a lot of energy and you cannot address this by electrification. You can do electrification in the port, like we have just heard recently in our discussion, because you can go for cold ironing. And there I think it was rightly said that we need to be, first of all, competitive, and secondly, you need vessels who are able to plug in. Today, I think only very, very few vessels are ready to be plugged in, because there is no possibility yet. But this will happen very soon. I think all the vessels which are constructed today are vessels who have the possibility to plug in, and very soon it will become mandatory by IMO, at least for passenger vessels, for ferries, and for many other ships. So this will happen. But today, probably the ports have to get ready, but the ships are not yet ready, because you need some remarkable investment also on the ship to make sure that the vessel can be plugged in. Now, coming back to the questions that you have made, the question that you made to us, I think that what could have been done in the recent years, waiting to find the best solution as far as the main engines are concerned and fuels, it is to have ships that have much less consumption. Through a lot of investment in new technology, you can reduce up to 50% the consumption of the vessels of today vis-à-vis the vessels of only 10, 20 years ago. And this has been done by Grimaldi. I have ships under construction in China, 17 car carriers, which will be the biggest in the world. All these vessels will have only 50% of consumption against the previous one. And because they will have a smaller engine than the 4,000 car carriers, but they can carry 9,000 cars. Same apply to my last Ro-Ro. I have built 15 big Ro-Ro in China. These vessels are 8 linear meters and 8,000 linear meters, and those vessels consume less than my previous 3,000 linear meter ships. So this proves that you can move the double amount of cargo with less than half of the emission of yesterday. Then, of course, we have to have vessels that are able to consume the new fuels. And this will be ready for ammonia. But today, the ammonia is not available. Today, the engine that can burn the ammonia are not available. So really, what we have to do is to get ready for, but in the meantime, we can emit less than 50% of the emission that we had on the vessel that we were using yesterday. How do you do this? It is because the new engines are much better in burning the fuel, because some of these vessels have new technology, but the new design of the keel. Sometimes you have a better bow, sometimes there are better rudders, better propellers. Often the propellers that we had were propellers for the maximum speed of the ship, which doesn't mean that it is necessarily the same thing than the cruising speed of the ship. Therefore, the propeller is not idoneous for the speed, for the service speed of the ship. But there are many, many technical things that can be done to reduce substantially the emission. Even silicone paint can give 10-15% improvement on certain ships, particularly after a few months. So there are lots of technology, particularly rudders and propellers and the keel, that can improve. There is bubbles under the keel of the ship. There are many other technology that if you put each of them, probably 10% the bubbles under the ship, another 10% silicone paint, another 10% that you can get with a better rudder, probably with a better design, and you can reach probably 50% improvement and economy of scale. So there are several systems to reduce dramatically the emission, whilst we will find the final solution that will be the zero emission. But carbon capture, we have evolved. We have many different technology, and I think there will be multiple technology according to different sector of shipping. And I think we have to welcome all of them and work on all of them, but I think today we don't have yet the final solution available.
Thank you, Mr. Emanuele. Sir Sohan, moving to you. You've developed many interests in your life. Your shipping career started out with naval architecture and inspections. Give us an idea about how you've been diversifying your interests in this sector ever since.
Hi, morning again. I'm a trained naval architect basically, but my passion was into movies. So initially, after my engineering, I tried to join Merchant Navy. My vision was, if I sail 6 months I will get a break and I can work in the film industry. That was my vision actually. But unfortunately, that ship had a fire and I had a narrow escape. My colleagues died, so I had to leave the Merchant Navy. So I came to Gulf. Then I worked for almost six years. I gained the experience. So then I thought of starting a business myself. So with the experience I gained, when I was in the college, I was a communist. Then I realized that it's an utopian thing, it will not work out in the real life. Then I thought of the socialism, then ultimately learned the capitalism from Dubai. When I started the company, I realized everything got its own problem, so I need to have a different system. So I mixed this capitalism and socialism together to make a new way of management system. Aries was designed accordingly. So today, Aries Group is like a family. I place myself as the eldest brother in the company. All the employees like my brothers, sisters, that way. So we function like a single family. Now we have around 2,300 employees, around 63 companies in 25 countries. But this expansion is possible just because of everyone worked like a single family. Otherwise, it's absolutely not possible. We started with the naval architecture and the inspection side. Slowly, we made a system basically, because individuals cannot make the spreading process. So since I was working in SDS before, SDS was having 110 country presentations. So I thought, when Aries is also growing, it should also have a global presence. First of all, we need to make a system. So that was the first step we did. After 4 years, it took, because when we started, the first week itself, we faced a collapse. Because when we started, the oil price was $60 per, we started on March 28, 1998. The oil price was $60 per barrel. Within 1 week, it fell down to $6. That is the greatest dip ever happened. So we started from a fall. But we took it in a positive way, because we know that entire industry is facing a crisis. So this is the right time to penetrate big fishes. So we started approaching the various clients with our innovative things. Slowly we picked up. First 2 years we struggled like anything. But within 4 years we set up a proper system. That was the turning point. Once the system was made, when we started diversification. We got into different fields like film industry, television industry, then testing labs, interior divisions. Slowly. For that, what we did was we developed proper project managers. If wherever we failed, we identified the root causes. We did not have proper project managers. So we developed the right people to lead each industry, and we spread our wings. I think we believe the success of Aries Group today is the system what we have created. Now we are running on a new system, that is FSM, Efficiency Improvement System Management. For the last 10 years, we have been running on that system. That is absolutely perfectly working very well. Now we got around 128 subdivisions under Aries Group in the 63 companies, 128 divisions working, and still we believe that this figure, the number of countries presence will be increasing to 50 or 100 in the next 1 decade, and the divisions will also grow to from 128 to 500, but we make sure that the workload will not increase to anyone, because the 24 hours is common for everyone. We divide the 24 hours, 8 hours for job, 8 hours for the mind, 8 hours for the body, like that it is spread. So for everyone, the working hours is fixed. So, but what we do is, this system divide the responsibilities accordingly. So we are following a system called 1:5:5. Each person has to monitor 5. Those 5 should monitor another 5, like that. All the jobs are designed, duties and responsibilities designed. It is working like that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Emanuele, the name Grimaldi has been associated with shipping for as long as 8 centuries, and it could be said that from birth you were destined to be involved in the shipping industry. But tell us about your early life, your family, and your motivations for getting into the industry yourself.
Thank you very much. I think, of course, we have been hearing since I was born about ships, because my father was a very wise, capable ship owner, and the brother of my grandmother was probably one of the biggest ship owners in the world, Achille Lauro, who was very well known. And the grandfather, my ancestors, also probably were the first in Italy who had a steamship. So to a certain degree, I think you start learning even on Christmas Day when you are a child, because probably you had an event on a ship and you hear your father addressing some problems, you know. So I think you grow with the shipping, and shipping is in your blood, because you start going to see ships, new ships that are built by your father, by your family. You see the apprehension that your father has for the ships, for the crew, for the people that are working. And I think very important is the human element that was touched upon by Roy 1 minute ago. Sir Roy was mentioning that his company is like a family. Our are family companies. And I think in the family company, you address very easily the human point, because it's like a big family. You know, you expand your family also to the people who work for yourself. And we have today 17,000 people working in the Grimaldi group. And your legacy is probably a big responsibility that you know that one day you will have to carry since you are young. I was sent to a very tough military school when I was young. I was only 13. And I have been studying in a military school where I think also our kings were, in the old days, have been there. It's over 200 years old. And of course, very, very tough from the beginning. You know, it's a military college, but it's part of the Italian army. It is the first battalion of the Italian army. So I think you have a very, very tough school from the beginning. You are asked to parachute, to ride horses, to fence, to do all sports, but at the same time, you know, you are taught how to shoot, how to walk on mountains, how to have a hard life, wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, no hot water. You know, it was very, very tough in those days. Now it became a bit better, but in my days it was very tough. And I think after that, I have been at university and I studied specializing myself in economy and in particularly in international organization and maritime law, maritime business, and so on. And I took this with honor, with the best. And then I entered the company, but I think my father was very wise that although I had the best votes, I started from very low. And I had experience, for instance, in England, I went to work in an agency, starting from bill of ladings and manifest of cargo. So I think I have sent my sons on board of ferries, even serving coffee and doing it. So we started from very low, but I think that like this you learn everything in your own company and you see what you need to do at all different levels. And then I had the privilege of being the president of European Shipowner Organization, the Italian also Shipowner Organization, and lately, in the last 2 years, I have been I had the great privilege and honor to become the chairman of the International Chamber of Shipping, which I think it's a great organization that has proved, particularly during the last year, and particularly also with my predecessor, who is a great man, as Ben Paulson, that we have proved to be extremely responsible by anticipating our ruler, which is the IMO, and asking and demanding for a net zero emission in 2050, which was recently accomplished by His Excellency Kitak Lim at the end of his mandate. And I think it is very promising that we will find our way forward in the coming years, although it's going to be very difficult, and I think nobody should consider this an easy ride, but I'm sure that things will move forward in the coming years, and I think also, likewise it was expressed in the previous panel, this is not an effort of the ship owners. This is an effort that has to be done on global level by all actors, and not only the shipping cluster. I think it's even much more than the shipping cluster. Of course, we need ports, and we have here the chairman of the Abu Dhabi ports, and I think that it is extremely important that ports, because where the ships will bunker? The ships will bunker in ports. Where is the infrastructure for bunkering? In ports. So I think we have to work very closely with ports, but not only ports. We need the engines, the new engines. So we need that the big companies are producing new engines which are compatible with the new fuels. So, and we need also the rest of the industry because we will be competing for the same type of fuel. The ammonia will be for probably not only for the youth, but also for certain energy consumption industry that will need the same fuels that we will need. And I think for shipping, it's also a fantastic new challenge, but also new opportunity, because we will be responsible for transporting these new fuels. And probably the amount of and quantity of these new fuels will be the double amount of the actual fuels, because they have an intensity of power which is less than half than the old fuels. So probably we need the double amount of tankers to bring the new fuels. So I think there is also a lot of opportunities in the coming years. I think the fact that I have been the chairman during this period, I think it's very challenging, but it is also extremely gratifying, because I think it's like we are in the middle of a big revolution, probably the same that we had in the past when we passed from sail to steamship. So I think now, I think it's extremely interesting time, and I think we need really the support of all, and particularly of the IMO, because the IMO will lead this. And I think also we have put forward an extremely interesting and challenging new system, which is based from one side to have a fund, and from the other side to have a reward system. So our idea, which we have brought forward from the ICS to the IMO, is to have this fund and reward system, which practically is to collect something like $50 from every ton of fuel which is consumed, which will make up to a very big amount. We are talking about $10 billion. And with those amounts of money, we should invest this money in two things. One is in producing new fuel in a competitive way, particularly in the new countries, in the countries, the developing countries. And then secondly, to reward the early starters, because this fuel will cost much more. There is no question about it. this fuel will cost at least 100% more than gas oil in the beginning. Probably not when they will be produced at scale. But in the beginning, they will cost 100 more. So what is our auspicious is to have that probably 80% of the additional cost could be covered by the reward system. The same fund can reward the people who start using the new fuel with 80% of the extra cost. I think this is a win-win-win solution, and I hope that the IMO will try to address this as early as possible, because the ETS in Europe and many other regional systems will not address the issue of a global industry like shipping. Thank you.
So Sohan, you touched on the importance of training to your organizations in your opening remarks. Could you say how technological advancements and new training methods are contributing to improvements in the way your companies operate?
See, I told you my passion was into the movies. So I made use of the potential of movie industry in our training. Today, the more than 2,300 employees in our group, they are all trained without an HR trainer. It is the basic principle is like this. You think about the movie Titanic. You watched the movie 25 years back. James Cameron brilliantly put a 200-page script into your brain without coming and explaining it. That is the power of visual media. So the same thing, all our training contents, we made it as a content. For whether it is a 5 minutes content or a half an hour content, we make it properly edited, sometimes with the proper script, everything. Then we make a syllabus accordingly. We put it into the brain of the employees. Then there is an exam. Like that, all our training programs are like this. Even many contents today, these various conferences, sessions, we make it as a content. So this is the system we are creating for that. But when you give it to the employees, you need to give it into different languages, because mother tongue is the best way of understanding. So the audio, once it is a digital content, you can change the audio track, or you can give a subtitle in the mother tongue. So whichever way you can enhance the that power of the content, you have to do it, whether audio version or the subtitle version. Then in our office, what we are doing is we have created theater classrooms. This content is played there because in that classroom, you are fully focused. There is no external sound coming. Normally, when you are watching it in a normal mobile or TV, there are thousands of frequencies in that room. But in a theater, all the external sounds are arrested. You are fully focused. On the screen, you need to provide a 4K quality projection, you need to provide, so that entire thing is coming to your brain. So it is very easy to understand, very easy to remember. Just like Titanic story, we still remember. You never forget this kind of things. But now the technology is changing. This year onwards, we are getting into the potential of virtual reality. Because the latest glasses are already launched. We got the sample glasses also. That is, the Ray-Ban glasses are already there, the virtual reality glasses. So in the virtual reality, it's an immersive field. You don't need to have a theater classroom. The same field you can create. We can provide a very good 3D content also we can provide. So like that, we are introducing virtual reality into our training. So basically, we need to have a system for the training. And sometimes your employees actually, destiny took them to a particular field, but that is not the field where their real talent and passion is there. So your career design never ends with your academics. Even if they come to our company, if we find that this particular person is not good for this job, his talent and passion is in some other field, he can upgrade. So the skill development programs are there. If they want to change their field, they can change. If they want to start a new division according to the talent passion, they can do it. So basically the training is to be provided, that we have a system for that one. And normally 50 hours, every employee has to attend almost 50 hours of training every year. That's the system. So if you upgrade your skill, on an average 5 hours at least every month, you will be a changed person, a changed professional by the end of the year.
Mr. Emanuele, shipping is a volatile industry. What challenges do you face in your sector? Safety is clearly a concern. Fire and balance are key issues. Tell us about how you deal with those problems day to day.
Unfortunately, it's right. We, and not only the children, learn from, unfortunately, bad happenings. It is true, from the fatality and the terrible story of the cruise vessel, this vessel that was, we learned a lot of things. We learned about ice class, we learned about how we had to rescue and have on board of every vessel sufficient equipment for saving the people. So a lot of lessons, unfortunately, are learned by bad happenings. The same, I think, in today in this climate change. When we talk about climate change and about the environment, unfortunately, who remembers to us how things are? Because before we saw that there was a lot of skepticism about climate change that probably was not anthropologic, that had nothing to do with human being, that it has always happened during the course of time. Even in the Middle Ages, we had a very cold period, very hot period, and so on. But today, I think that the so abrupt change and also what we have seen in the recent years, and people are learning because we see that there is desertification, there is unfortunately huge water coming down everywhere. So sometimes you have too little, sometimes you have too much. The melting, of course, of the ice in the Greenland and in many other places. We see that things are changing so quickly that we cannot ignore, and we have to take care. Same it happened with safety and security of ships. I remember that I was president of the European ship owners when we have addressed seriously safety and security, but after two disasters, the Erika disaster, after the Erika disaster, it was by the European Union was introduced the port state control with Mr. Watts in the UK. Port state control, which today it's a very important institution, particularly because it's controlling also the vessel operated by some flag state who might be a little bit complacent, but port state is addressing it. We have introduced the black box on board of the ships, which was not existing, the double hull for tanker, which didn't exist. So a lot of the Stockholm Agreement, which was not applicable everywhere for passenger ships. So a lot has been done in safety and security improvement. It has to be done still, yes. We are worried about hazardous cargo. Sometimes some hazardous cargo can produce fire, can make the fire worse, can make it difficult to be extinguished. Probably now we have new cars. It remains to be seen if the batteries of the new cars can produce fire on board and how to extinguish this fire. I have been told that it is very important to detect as early as possible the fire, so we need to put more fire detectors on board of our car carriers. Probably we have to have better system to extinguish the fire as early as possible. Probably, and I have always been advocating that when you load inside a container hazardous cargo, it should be done under the control of classification society. Because I think if you do not pack well, you can have problems inside the containers, but this problem can be a problem that goes round and can hit the entire vessel. We have other things that can be addressed simply. For instance, I don't think that it is right, the camping on board. I think that there is always a risk if the passengers are living inside the roulottes. I think also that probably all the refrigerated cargo should be plugged in. You cannot have an engine on board of a ferry that is working on his own with his own engine, because it's a risk. So there are several risks that we can detect and we can reduce with new technology, but also with new rules, because there are new types of cargo, new challenges, and I think we have to be quick in finding solutions which continue to give. But if we see the records of shipping, as far as safety and security, I think they have improved dramatically in the last few years. So I think this is also probably, I think we have always to strive and to reach better results. But if you see the happenings, and thanks God, I think the amount of disasters that we have in the recent year, although there is a big growth of the seaborne trade, the terrible happenings are becoming less and less. Therefore, there is a big improvement. But I think we have still to be concentrated in this, particularly for the new cargo that open to new type of risks. And particularly for the new fuels, we need the retraining. For the new fuels, we need retraining for all, because when we talk of ammonia, we know that ammonia is very heavily poisoning. So we have to have courses for and retrain most of our seafarers. I think this was very important. We had a special day with the ICS in Manila. Manila, because everybody knows that the Filipino are the biggest country in recruiting crew in the world. Over, I think, probably 700,000-800,000 of Filipino are working as seafarers. So therefore, I think it's the biggest. And there in Manila, we had a very nice day where, together with the unions and together with even President Marcos, who came and who participated at this meeting, we have, and the government of the Filipino, we have tried to find and to understand the seafarers, because today there is also a shortage of seafarers. Understand what are their requests and because we will need more and more seafarers, and the human element is, I think, of particular importance, and I think this is one of the big challenges. We should not forget also that two countries who were participating in a big way to the seafarers were both Ukrainians and Russians, which today are not available. So we lost another 150,000 seafarers. I think it is of extreme importance to understand, because now the seafarers have been exposed at a huge risk. And this was during the period of the pandemic. They have suffered most than anybody. They couldn't even have repatriation because there were no flights to go back to their own countries. And so they have been like prisoners on board of ships or in countries waiting to go back to their own country. So often they have not been hospitalized. And also, one of the things that today is becoming, particularly for the young people, but also for myself, I had to go back to the hotel because I didn't have I forget my phone. So the phone is becoming, and to be connected. Today, I think it's of paramount importance for everyone. So we have to make sure that all our ships are connected, because people will not go on board of a ship if they know that they cannot be connected to their family, probably also to see their best team playing football or anything else. But I think it's a quality of life on board which we have to improve. And we have to be connected. We understood, we made a request to all our crew to understand what was that they needed first. And this is one of the top priorities. It is the connect. Then, of course, we have to have better condition of life, probably shorter period on board of the vessel for the crews. And I think this, together with safety and security, because that has always been on top of our agenda, and of course decarbonization, which is extremely important. The other very important element is seafarers. And I think we have to give much more attention to seafarers. And I think they deserve this indeed today. Otherwise, we will not have them. Thank you.
So Sohan, finally, I understand the first ShipTech conference took place in 2009. I remember I attended my first ShipTech in 2014 and heard a very interesting story from an official of the Suez Canal Authority in Ismailia talking about Suez Canal tariffs. How satisfying has it been for you to organize this event over the years?
See, if organizing events like this is not easy actually. You need to see, getting a person like him from Italy is a humongous task, but because of the quality of event we are organizing, we are getting more and more crowd, and we are planning to spread it into, already it is going to several countries. We are organizing it into all the continents, that is our vision. All the continents, all the major shipping hubs, ShipTech should happen. And also, not only that, ShipTech student versions also, and now we are clubbing the maritime academies, so that ShipTech's student version is also coming, so that the industry and the academics can be clubbed together. And the industry can directly, because at least 5 years before they join the industry, they can be focused on to the right industry. That's the way it is planned. So I think ShipTech can play a major role in transforming the current students properly designed for the industry, and it is the responsibility of the industry to make sure that these students are well trained at the academic level itself, instead of these people coming and joining the industry, because I still believe that the maximum mistakes I made in my career, it was in the first 2 years. This is happening in every companies, and the damage is, end of the day, it is suffered by the employer. Their reputation is gone, their money is gone, time is gone. So it is to be rectified in the academic side itself. So it is the responsibility of the industry to go into the academic side and transform it. And I think ShipTech can play a major role in that one.
I'd like to thank both distinguished gentlemen for their contributions. Unfortunately, we're out of time. A round of applause for them both, please.